I'm Akhil. I'm a realtor in the Los Angeles area. I'm making these videos to document my progress towards finding the meaning of the universe. My current mission is to accomplish your real estate goals in the most efficient and effective way possible. That's what these videos are for, to document my progress. So, let's get on with the video. All right, first things first. So I want to talk about intuitions and red flags. So, two recent situations in the last couple weeks that are pretty interesting that I guess I've learned some from, but mainly I've reconfirmed my beliefs and strengthened kind of what I already knew. But also, yeah, I did learn a decent amount. So I guess we'll just go into those two situations. So the first thing is I was working with a buyer, right? And this buyer I met from door knocking. And I'm not going to get too into the specifics. But basically, what happened is I showed a few different places. We made offers in a couple different places. One of them got accepted, and basically essentially what happened is the buyer stopped responding like altogether, right? And then that was like for like 2 to 3 day period. I was like, what is going on? We just got accepted, we're in contract, and what do we do now? Buyer's not responding. So what basically what was going on was, I guess the buyer didn't feel like the price was right that they got accepted at. So after they finally responded back to me after a few days, I guess they weren't interested in the price that they got accepted at. They wanted a lower price, which, obviously that should have been discussed in the front. But anyway, it was just like, I guess the buyer at the end of the day was unhappy, so it ended up canceling out, and then I guess we went our own ways. But anyway, at the end of the day, I could blame whatever I want, but at the end of the day, the situation was really my fault. I don't think I fully explained to the buyer, what it means to make like an offer and what it means when it gets accepted. I think in the buyer's head, like they wanted a certain price, and then we made an offer at this price, but he thought, okay, maybe we could get a lower price or something. I don't know. I guess fundamentally it's my fault. Basically, the main takeaways from that the main takeaways from that happening were that I really need to understand that not all buyers are really going to be totally 100% serious about what they say. They may say one thing and then 5 minutes later say something else. I should also be very, very careful into really only making offers into properties that they actually are genuinely interested in, and genuinely are willing to go to whatever number. And it's got to be like, it's got to fit their needs correctly. It can't just be like an okay property that kind of fits. Also, the third thing is I have to understand is that, I guess I just have to really make sure that they understand the process of everything that's going on. And for this specific buyer, it was kind of tough because there was like almost like a language barrier. I could tell their first language was not English, so I guess there was some confusion when I was speaking about the process. And I think I also just have to understand that, the buying side comes with its own problems, and that's why the listing side really has all the power. And that's why my team lead always pushes, like, the listing side is where everything is, like all the power is. It's where you really want to optimize your business toward primarily listings rather than buyer sides. Because at the end of the day, I mean, the saying is true, buyers are liars, in the sense that they say one thing but in reality they're thinking something else, and they'll be willing to cancel on basically they're willing to their ability to stick to the deal is basically based on feeling, right? When you have a listing, it's everything is already ready, everything is 100%, they're 100% going to sell the property if they get the right offer, because it's a listing side, and the contract is signed, everything's already ready. So you're just waiting for the right offer, and you just, I don't know, you just have more power in that situation. You basically get to choose which buyer you want, and it's just significantly a better situation to be in than the buying side. But anyway, that was the first situation. Again, main takeaway is where I just need to be better at explaining and conveying what needs to be conveyed to the buyers and make sure they fully understand. And that I just need to realize that not all buyers are really going to be 100% accurate with what they say always. So the second situation was with the developer. And this situation was basically we made an offer on the property. We were through negotiations. They had never actually seen this property in person. It was just through videos and through the photos, obviously. And basically, when we finally it was through a bank. It was a foreclosure. It was a foreclosed property, and it was through a bank. So the offers and stuff were all through a bank website. And I did learn some things there, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then the second thing that that ended up happening was it got accepted. We were about to like fully execute the contract. Basically, I guess it's a technical acceptance, but not a full acceptance because it was accepted on their website, but not accepted in contractual like paperwork. So essentially, what ended up happening is before the contractual paperwork was signed, this was over the weekend. They sent somebody out to go see the property just to get started on the inspections early, and I guess they realized the floor plan, and there was just like some major problems with the property that they just didn't want, and they pulled out of it, which is obviously at the end of the day, it's really my fault for not realizing that this is not the ideal property for them. I guess the property itself, while it was a foreclosure, it was also like the property itself was in major disarray. I would say whoever they foreclosed on really wanted to probably like destroy everything and leave. The property had like some major damage and major like it just like and the layout was horrendous. It was multiple layers and certain layers had no light. And when I was going through the property, there was no electricity in the property. So when I got to some of these bottom layers, it was pitch black, and there were bugs crawling everywhere. Oh my god, it was terrible. It was like a horror scene. But anyway, yeah, I think I need to realize like, okay, if we're going to be making like a full offer and they're going like full on something, I have to make sure that it's like something that they're really going to be willing to close on. And on my end, I need to make sure either they see it or it's a property that they're very confident about, and I make sure all the information, including the floor plan, multiple videos, I explain everything I know about the property, everything I saw in the property. Like, I just have to make sure that they fully understand everything, so that we don't waste time in the future. So I guess at the end of the day, while these two things did happen, I would say the majority of the responsibility obviously comes back to me in just being a better agent, making sure that information is conveyed better. And also just making sure that I understand what their needs are and I'm properly serving it. So, all right, that's the first part. Yeah. All right, let's talk about lease listing. So, what is a lease listing? How does it relate to me? So, I have a lease listing, right? And what a lease listing is, first of all, is somebody who is a landlord, right? And they're looking to rent out their unit, right? They have a unit. They have a property, they would like to rent it out. So they hire an agent, the agent will list it similar to the way a property is listed for sale, and hopefully we can get a tenant. That's basically the situation with a lease listing. So for this particular case, what happened was that I was holding an open house multiple months ago. I met this lead who said they had an apartment building that, they had a property management company that normally does their rentals, but for this particular unit, they were unable to get anybody. And they were still like, considering they were keeping it with the property management company, hopefully it gets rented out, stuff like that. And then, I kept following up every single week, every few days. I would call, for like, I think 3-4 times I got no response. I think the fourth or fifth time the lead finally picked up. I got to speak with them and I explained how we can help. We can get this rented out fast. This is our job. This is our bread and butter. We're here to save as much rent time as possible. And basically nothing happened for the next 3 weeks. And then, a long time passed. And then finally I called them up again and they were like, yeah, let's do it. You can list our lease. So it's not a big lease. It's like $2,300 a month. And I listed it. And basically, so what I do, I used all of the intelligence and the skills that I got from the Skylight rentals, that experience to list this property and get it multiple applications. So what I did was I immediately responded to any leads that came in, because like with any rental, you'll get a ton of people who request. For this particular one, it was quite a bit because this rental is on Montana, in Santa Monica, Montana Avenue. And this particular one is like, it's a nice location. There's not a lot of rentals like it in that specific area at this price point with this amount of square footage. It's not very renovated or anything, but it's just for this amount of space in this location, it's quite good. So I listed it. I think it was pretty interesting learning how, to go through the MLS, to get all these photos. I got professional photos taken, which was almost $150, I think, dollars. So even though it's for a lease, it's worth it because professional photos make a huge difference in terms of how many people reach out. And yeah, I got a ton of people reaching out. And what I did is I scheduled group showings. So it's like I think the first one, I scheduled like 6 or 7 people all at once at the same time. I said, okay, boom, 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 come at this time, come at this time, come at this time. And, that way, everyone comes in at the same time. I'm in and out within 30 minutes. Everyone basically sees each other. They're like, wow, this is a very desirable unit. It's almost like a competitive type of thing. And yeah, from that first showing, I got like 2 applications. The next day, I got another application from another group showing, and then I think I got 1 more application or something like that, 4 total. And then I sent them all to the landlord. We're currently working on it. They're going to make a decision, and we're going to send out a lease. But yeah, in terms of time spent, it's significantly better than Skylight, right? Like in Skylight, I take somebody and then I take them up to 5 different places, and then finally, after 15 places that I've showed them, they decide that they don't want to rent anymore. That's like essentially how I'd sum up, like, renting with Skylight, because essentially the most profitable way is either you take them out for a high price listing and then try to show them places, or you try to just rent out the units that they have. But a lot of the units that they have aren't that great, so they never end up renting out. And you just don't get enough showing requests to do group showings. So yeah, there's a few different parameters over here that you have to keep in mind for the Skylight rentals. But in terms of lease listings, I just see, like, in terms of time spent to, when you're getting a lease listing, I'm going to be representing both sides, because basically no agent cares about $2,300 lease listings. I think only out of like the 40 people who reached out, I think only 2 of them were agents with clients. So that just shows you, basically no agents are in this price point. But yeah, I guess the main takeaway is that lease listings are significantly better than buy sides, and they're just significantly more effort. You have a lot more advantage being on the listing side. And yeah, I think that was basically everything I learned. Hopefully we can get that leased out fast. And you know what I'm probably gonna do? I'll get into the next section of lead generation plans. But what I'm most likely gonna do is I'm gonna start cold calling the landlords, right? Probably for a little bit higher price leases than $2,300. But I'm gonna cold call landlords where, like, I don't know, their lease is like canceled or something like that, or expired, or maybe like sitting on the market for months or something like that. I'll figure it out. I'll cross-check their name, all that stuff, their owner information. I'll call them up, see if I can, try to get a way to help them out, lease out their place. I mean, it's clearly a very interesting opportunity, and I know a lot of agents don't particularly care much for leases, because it's kind of a decent amount. It's enough work. It's like equivalent work to a listing, but it's not nearly as much reward, right? Like out of a lease listing, you're only gonna get 6%, only 3 or 3.5 if you represent only the selling side. If another agent brings it in, so it's not much of the lease price, but it is worth it in terms of it goes into your history. You get a lot of experience. You get to know the landlord. If the landlord ever decides to sell that building, if you emphasize that to the landlord, look, I got this rented out. If this is what I can do for a lease, you can only imagine what I would do for a sale, right? So in terms of, like, if they're ever looking to buy or sell, most likely, who are they going to use? The person who's obviously been helping them for a significant period of time with leases. So in that sense, that is an option which I've considered. But yeah, I think I've learned a lot from this lease listing. I think it's pretty good. So on to the next. All right, let's go on to the next part, lead gen plan. So as I was talking about in the last video, between then and now, what had happened was, so what was going on was I was continuing to door knock because I didn't really, give it a hard stop. I was considering it, I was like, yeah, door knocking kind of sucks. Why am I doing this? But whatever, I'm doing with Danny. Let's just go. I have some things to do. Okay. I was like kind of, stuck in that rhythm. Okay, door knock. Okay, I got to do this. Send some deals. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, showings this here. Do this. Do this. And then, I kind of got distracted. But in the last few days, I was like, okay, this is it. I'm done. I can't be doing the same thing I'm doing and hope to get good results. So I got to stop. Right. Got to analyze and assess what I'm doing. I got to maximum genius my way out of this situation. Right, and the situation is that I'm door knocking this, like, new areas, doing random stuff, doing this, doing that, and door knocking like this and door knocking like that, and it's just not working. Right, the metrics just don't line up. So there's like 380 direct hours in door knocking spent. So that's how much time I've spent just door knocking, like from the time I started door knocking to the time I ended door knocking, not including driving time, not including time to print flyers, make the flyers, do all that. Just the time that I'm spending door knocking is about 380 direct hours spent, right? And out of that, I've gotten approximately 45 leads, 0 closes, and 1 lease close, right? And I've done it for a total of 9 months in about 3 weeks. Obviously, it's realistically 9 months. Some of that time I wasn't doing it. Some weeks I wasn't doing it as well. But realistically, around 8 to 9 months of door knocking, right? Pretty consistently, I would say. At least 2 to 3 times a week minimum. At least a few hours. At least like I would say 6 to 9 hours a week, maybe 10 hours a week minimum. And yeah, so that's the door knocking. In terms of open houses, right? I've gotten 140 direct hours spent. So basically, like almost a third, right? Almost a third of direct hours spent. One close and one lease listing, which is about to close. So I could say, without a reasonable doubt, with 1/3 of the time in open houses, I've gotten way better results, right? And it's only been 6 months that I've been holding the open houses, and that's also semi-consistently, not that consistently. And yeah, so what did I learn from that? Well, basically, if I use open houses as a barometer or thermometer or anemometer of, of where I should be, basically, I could tell you that the current way of door knocking is obviously terrible. See, what I had thought was, all right, I'm 3 months. At 3 months in, this is what I thought. All right, I'm 3 months in. I put 3 months of time into this door knocking thing. I broke through it finally, like this being scared. I gotten through that. I'm good with the door knocking now. Now I just gotta wait for the fruit to ripen, or no, the fruit to grow. I just gotta wait for the seeds to grow into plants, and I just gotta wait to harvest reap the rewards of my work. Then 6 months in, I'm like, okay, I haven't seen any rewards or leads or anything like that, but I've seen some people giving their contact information. Maybe it'll take some more time. Maybe I'm approaching it wrong. Let me change up the script. Let me do this. And now at 9 months, almost 10, I'm realizing that none of the changes that I made or any of the seeds that I planted have grown into anything. And none of the leads turn into anything. And yeah, that's about it. That's all I can say. So what I've noticed was that this is not I've got to pivot, right? There's a certain time where you're like, okay, you analyze the information. You're like, okay, there's time to push, continue forward. And there's a time where it's just, this is trash, garbage, right? Just chuck in the trash can. You got to stop. This is one of those times where I just think it's a time to pivot, get rid of this, and move on. So here's the new plan, right? Here's the new plan. So what I had thought was, okay, we have realistically 4 options. I could cold call with a 12-line dialer. I could door knock only teardowns. I could cold call lease landlords to get their lease listings. Or I could go back to Skylight. So I ended up deciding none of those because obviously I'm a genius and I thought of another way out. But I'm just kidding. So what I ended up deciding, or what is the current decision, is that I would door knock only a specific area. That specific area, I'll be door knocking, flyers, mailers. The flyers as in door hangers, mailers. So it's like a farm. And I go there once every 6 weeks. This area is small, so it only takes about 4 days to get through the Donnas. And I would keep that one area, either the Donnas or somewhere in Encino. One of those areas we'll keep as a farm. And we'll just door knock that every once in 6 weeks or so. So that won't take up too much time. And then what I'll do for all the rest of the 5 weeks of time that I have is I'll do nothing. It's like you thought. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'll be doing, there's a couple options that I'm kind of thinking about right now. Couple. What I was thinking was this, because it's logistically really hard to do only one lead generation model at a time, right? Because if I want to cold call, then any day that I go out, it's gonna be kind of a pain, right? It's like, okay, I have to cold call for like a few hours, and then I also have to go out. So sometimes I'm always out for showings, and some days, sometimes I'm out all the way over here. I don't want to drive 45 minutes to a showing over there and do nothing over there. So in those days, it makes sense. Okay, I drive 5 minutes out all the way to Beverly Grove, so I may as well also door knock in that area. That's what I would normally do. I just couple it up and then move on, right? Okay, I did that. I did the showing. I door knocked when I came home. It was worth a day to go all the way 45 minutes. It doesn't make sense. Like yesterday, I drove 45 minutes to go to one showing. I spent 45 minutes at the showing, and then drove 45 minutes all the way back. 3 hours gone. It's like, it doesn't make any sense, right? So it's like, I don't know. It's like sometimes it makes sense to door knock in the area that you're doing it. So it's like, if I choose only one thing, it's kind of logistically challenging. If I choose only door knocking, then it's logistically challenging. Some days I need to just like sit down and do a bunch of follow-ups, and in those days I want to leave so late that I end up getting stuck in traffic. I don't know. So it's like there's a couple things I would like to have that flexibility to where I could door knock or stay home and cold call or something. So what I was thinking was that in terms of door knocking, instead of approaching it this way, which is shit, like, hey, do you want some market information, some resources about home repair, some all this, the original method, right, that Jenny gave me was the letterhead. We got a buyer. I don't obviously have to go up like, hello, we have a buyer, please sell your house. But no, not like that. It's more like hey, how are you? I'm Akhil, this is Danny, we're both realtors in the area. We just had somebody who's really interested in this neighborhood. They're unfortunately unable to get into any of the properties that are on the market. There's nothing that really fits them. We were just wondering if by any chance you would consider an offer from our amazing, nice clients that would really love to be in this neighborhood. Something like that, right? That makes sense, and that actually converts because that was the first thing I ever did, and I got the most amount of calls from that. And I don't know why I never went back to that, but I wanted to be friendly, and that never works. So it does, but I'm just kidding. But in the sense like that converted more, so I want to go back to trying that. So that's basically like maybe 2 or 3 days. I was thinking 2 or 3 days I do that. And the other 2 or 3 days I cold call lease listings. Like lease listings in the sense, not like I'm gonna call up the agents. No, I mean like call up landlords of like expired lease listings and see if I could, try to rent out their place, or call up places where it's like a landlord rents it out, themselves, like a owner rental or something like that, and see if I can get a lease done, like a lease listing, like lease listings out of that. And if you really get a good building and you get to know the manager really well, if it's like a 50-unit building, there's always gonna be somebody who's like moving out, so you'll always have like circulation of leases. So I think in a general sense that is an option, and it'll give you like sustainable business for a long period of time. But yeah, that's probably the method that I'll probably end up using for 2 days of door knocking. Only like, I guess if I was to use the letterhead, it would be primarily like teardowns, or it would be primarily fixers. But I mean, I guess you can in theory get a buyer for anything, and that's being pretty much proven because any type of property that somebody, I mean, I would like to be in a situation where I actually have the buyer for the property. That's why I'd like to keep it to fixers and teardowns. But in a general sense, even for renovated properties, I obviously know many agents who always have buyers looking for certain types of properties. So that's not really an issue in terms of finding the buyer for the property. But yeah, it's just mainly like going out there and doing that specifically. So I think that those two work. And then the third thing is, which I don't really know how it'll fit in, or if maybe I'll do that first and do the lease listing thing later or whatever. I'll figure that out. But I finally got, if you remember from the last video, I reached out to Los Angeles City. I finally got a list of a 3,000 person list, or a 3,000 property list of all the approved projects for construction. A lot of them were not completed, to my understanding, because on the thing it says completed. Like basically it's a spreadsheet, it's a big giant spreadsheet, 3,000, it's humongous. And basically it says completed, null. Completed, it's like null, and then one of them is like null, one is like yes. I don't know. So I guess a lot of them are uncompleted, so I can call them up and see if they're willing to sell, type of thing. But yeah, basically I got that 3,000 list, so maybe I could use that, cross-reference it with like public records and call up those people, or we'll figure something out. But I do think that's useful. It cost me like $100, so better be useful. But yeah, hopefully I can try to make something happen from that, and we'll see where that goes. So I got those 3 things that are the alternatives. And what I want to do with these is like, so with open houses, for example, I could immediately see within the first 3 months that this is a viable option. Like if I get slightly better, I can get a buyer from this. Like I already have people that I was showing, and like, they were responding to me, and people were doing stuff, and people were engaging and stuff like that. Early on, like in the first couple months, those people just kind of like, became more passive, but they're still there, like as leads, and they may buy or sell down the line. So I can immediately see with open houses that it was a viable option. With door knocking, it's been like, I guess the best way to explain it is this. I started off, I was just kind of hoping it would work. It's like, okay, it's not working out now, but 3 months from now, it's going to work fine. I'm sure. I'll be 3 months better. 3 months later, it's like, okay, well, I'm 3 months better, but I'm sure the next 3 months will be fine. And it's like it just like keeps passing past, and at some point, I'm like, okay, well, clearly, I mean, I've improved a significant amount in terms of conversations, in terms of getting better at relating to people, stuff like that. But it's clear that in terms of path, I mean, obviously, eventually, probably you'll get something. If I door knock for the rest of my life, I'm not going to say I'm not going to get leads. But in terms of like efficient conversion vehicles, I just don't think it's really like an effective way to get leads in the long term. It's not like ineffective. It's just like compared to other things. If I let's just say try one of these other things and it's more comparable to open houses, I think it would be way more worth my time than picking something that it's been 9 months and I still haven't gotten anything from. So if even one of these is even half as good, it'd be significantly better. So if I and basically I think it'll be like a 3 month test size, right? Like let's just say I call up landlords for 3 months, right? And even if it's like not necessarily the main focus, and it's like let's just say it's a 60% focus, I still think I'll get a better idea of if it's even like a realistic. Like if I'm 3 months in, I've been doing it for like if I've done like maybe I don't know maybe like 35, 40 sessions. If I've done 40 sessions of this, right, I'll get a better idea of if this is a reasonable thing. And by 40 sessions, I mean like 40 times 3, so that's like probably like 120 hours. After about 120 hours, you can reasonably see like if this is a reasonable thing. 120 hours, like you'll be able to like at least okay, are landlords responding? Is it just my script? Is it just this? You can iterate. Is it like okay, I'm getting like I'm getting calls back. I'm getting okay this like engagement. Okay, I can do this, but on certain terms. Am I sending out lease listings? What's the situation? If it's I'm getting some response. If it's not like if it's totally blank, then I know like okay, it may not be the greatest idea. I'll keep doing it for an extra couple months. Let's see if it's gonna work out. But if it's not, then just drop it. Type of situation. But most good things will start to work as soon as you start them, like within a couple months, right, of iteration. It's not going to be like you're going to do it for 6 months and then magically one day it's just all going to click and then everything's going to work out immediately, right? Most of the time it's not like that. So yeah, that's what I think. And worst case scenario, 3, 4, 5 months go by and I'm like, okay, I'll pivot again. This is obviously not the right way. I'll pivot to something else, maybe do this, do that. And there's only so many things you can do for lead gen. So eventually I'll be like, okay, I'll just basically assimilate to the best one, pick that, and just basically cram the volume as much as possible. Really what I'm trying to do is just understand where can I, what is the most efficient way to get leads. Obviously currently my thermometer barometer thing is set at open houses. And I want something at least comparable or similar to open houses, right? And as I said, I've only done open houses for 1/3 the time I've done door knocking, right? And if I find something similar to open houses, and I can do that all for the rest of the days, because open houses you really only do Saturday, Sunday, and it's really dependent on the house you have. If you have a shit house or a shit property, it doesn't matter how many days you hold an open house, nobody's gonna come. So it's if I can find something that's like a decent property open house, but like a comparable to that in terms of lead gen activity, where I can spend my time and do that, at least if it's somewhat comparable, then it's worth me going all 5 days doing that and getting leads out of it, right? Because that's the majority of my time is gonna be spent into that. But yeah, that's just what I'm thinking through. And yeah, so that's I guess the plan. Well, I guess I didn't really outline a great plan, but my plan is to essentially just trial and error, see which one works best, and go from there. Obviously, I don't want to distract myself too much. I want to focus on one thing, really like iron it out, see how good it is, and yeah, I guess the final few things are I need to increase the open houses that I do. That is one thing. I need to, and also I changed posting to be like the last priority. If you look at my feed, my Instagram feed or whatever, it's like super duper barren. Looks like a desert. I haven't posted in forever. It looks like I'm staring out into a desert, the Sahara Desert. It's all empty. It's very sad. Yeah, so I haven't been posting as much in the past few weeks. And that's just because I've been, I guess I just haven't kept it as a priority. And I just don't, like I was saying in the last video, I just don't think many leads, I think it's good as like a fertilizer. But again, you don't necessarily really need fertilizer to grow plants. You need seeds and water. You need to take care of those plants. You need to consistently water it. You don't necessarily need to consistently have fertilizer. But, at the end of the day, obviously the posting helps, but I don't think it helps as much as me going out there and actually making relationships, connecting with people, following up with them, continuing to follow up with them, service them, help them in every way I can. I think those are more important than me posting, because I feel like me posting like random Instagram things, not as many people see it. The client base doesn't really, because I see the people who follow me, it's just mainly other agents or other people in the office. I just don't think the consumer base really transfers. But hey, what do I know? Obviously, they say post consistently. I'm trying my best, but again, it's my last priority. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, so we went over my two most recent situations and what I learned, right? We went over the lease listing that I got and basically how I want to continue getting lease listings. And we went through the three. Number three was like the lead generation that I'm thinking through and why I'm pausing door knocking, just because it's not the most efficient way of getting leads, in my opinion. So I guess from here on out, we'll figure it out. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Don't forget to watch the video again 100 times because I want 1 billion views. And yeah, once I get 1 billion views, I'll be one step closer to finding the meaning of the universe. So if one person watches this 1 billion times and 1 billion people watch this 1 billion times, then it'll be amazing. Okay, I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. So I'll see you guys next time.